The February meeting of the Guilford County Republican Party was what I would call an instant classic, and it was full of contentious moments. In other words, it was so much more enjoyable than the January meeting. If you missed this February meeting, then oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, did you miss a lot. Now, our first speaker of the night was Keisha Lineberger, who was running for the state RNC committee woman position. This seat is going to be open, and the election will take place in May of 2020 at the state Republican convention in Greenville. The current RNC committee woman, Dr. Ada Fisher, is not seeking re-election. Lineberger's speech was pretty short, but I did get a good vibe out of it. She is currently being trained for the position by RNC committee man Mark Brody and has been trained for the position for 2 years. Now, some would say that is a bad thing, and that would make Mrs. Lineberger an establishment candidate. But I want to tell you personally that in this particular situation, that is just not the case. Mark Brody has done a spectacular job as the RNC committee man for North Carolina. He is a conservative firebrand, and if you are a social conservative like I am, you'll be happy to know that Mr. Brody is 100% pro-life, and he is 100% for traditional marriage. Mrs. Lineberger also informed the group that evening that the North Carolina Federation of Republican Women will be holding absentee ballot trade-in at their quarterly meeting in Greenville coming up on the weekend of February 22nd and 23rd. She will also be giving reports on the Mark Harris legal proceedings from Raleigh beginning on February 18th. She also encouraged us to friend her on Facebook, so her positive point is that she wants to be accessible to her fellow conservative activists. The election for RNC committee woman is not going to be held for another 15 months, but right now, I have to say that I'm really impressed with Keisha Lineberger, but I will certainly be doing my homework on other candidates over the next 15 months. Now, next on the agenda was when we heard from 3 candidates who are running to become the next chairman of the Guilford County Republican Party. This election will take place at the county convention on Saturday, March 9th. It will begin promptly at 9 a.m. and finish at around noon. The cost to attend is $20, and that fee is charged primarily to defray the cost of renting the room to have the convention in. The location will be at Guilford Technical Community College on the Jamestown campus. This will be in room 120 of the Percy H. Sears Applied Technologies building. And if you think that was a mouthful, just go to the Guilford County Republican website. You have all the information there, that nice long title you can read again. Okay. So the first candidate for chairman that spoke this evening is David Gleason. Now, he was new to party politics, but has lived in Jamestown for 20 years. So he knows the local issues of Guilford County. He is a lifelong conservative from Clarksville, Tennessee, and he would describe himself as a constitutionalist. Mr. Gleason holds a degree in chemical engineering and also has a master's in business administration. He has been involved with the Greensboro Rotary Club and has a specialization in fundraising. He is also an assistant director for the Convention of States organization. In his career for the company Morflex, he doubled profits in only 8 years, and he is good at organizing people and setting goals. Mr. Gleason also informed us that he is also great at setting metrics and time frames. After David Gleason wrapped up his speech, he introduced his team. His first vice chair will be Chris Meadows, and second vice chair will be Alyssa Batts, and George McClellan will stay on as executive director of the Guilford GOP if and only if David Gleason wins election on March 9th. Now, Chris Meadows, he said a few words to the crowd, and I will now give you a summary of that. Chris says that his primary goal as first vice chair will be in fundraising, and he wants to target high net worth individuals. His target is $50,000 over a 2-year election cycle. He also made a pitch to the executive committee to get involved in party fundraising. One way to do this is for an auxiliary group, such as the Greater Greensboro Women's Club, sponsor a table at the Lake and Reagan Day dinner. Mr. Meadows then introduced Alyssa Batts as second vice chair, and her primary focus will be on marketing and social media. Meadows also pointed out that all members of the county executive committee need a 20 to 30 second elevator speech of what exactly the GOP stands for. Another idea that Chris proposed was a monthly email newsletter. This would be a cheap way to reach 10 to 15,000 voters. He also stated that he wants to conduct something called unaffiliated voter development. Meadows claims that 60 to 70% of voters are right of center in their political views, but in order to do this, a strong get-out-the-vote messaging plan is needed. He also stated that the Guilford GOP should not give up on left-of-center voters either, as a lot of Democrats are starting to see their own party drift toward extreme socialism. Alyssa Batts then spoke for a couple minutes, and she said that she has listened to 2 to 4 years of feedback in her quest to be a party leader. She says she is strongly committed to the local party and to the Greensboro metropolitan area. The next candidate to speak was Clark Porter. He has been a volunteer dating back to the 80s, and he has helped B.J. Barnes and Jesse Helms get elected and reelected many times. Mr. Porter does not believe in running a slate and says that individuals should run for party officers where they see fit and not where a team sees them fit. He also accused Chris Meadows of planning to run against Congressman Ted Budd in 2020. And it's important to note that Meadows did not issue a rebuttal to that accusation. Clark also says the party needs to get back to the basics and not forget about the municipal elections. He also wants the new party headquarters to have a lot of food in the facility in order to feed get-out-the-vote crews and get energy to their bodies to go out and walk and go door-to-door for various candidates. The most important reason that Clark Porter says he is running is due to his Judeo-Christian values. He is also involved in a voting rights lawsuit against Democrat North Carolina Supreme Court Justice Anita Earls. During Mr. Porter's speech, he was interrupted by Executive Director George McClellan, and McClellan asked him why he's running, where is his team. This started to fire up the crowd, and I will explain later, a little later, how this situation escalated. The final candidate to speak on this February evening was Marcus Kinley. Marcus currently serves as the vice chair of the North Carolina Federation of Republican Men and is the third vice chair of the 6th District Executive Committee. Kinley served as chair of the Guilford County Republican Party from 2001 to 2007, and he had great success. He raised over $300,000 for the party, and he got 77% of Republicans out to the polls in the 2004 presidential election in Guilford County. His strategy for success in Guilford, and that was also the last election that Guilford County went for Republican in presidential elections, the most recent one. His strategy for success in Guilford is for the party to focus on all of the rural precincts and only 4 or 5 suburban precincts in Greensboro. He told the audience, do not waste our time as a party going out all over central downtown Greensboro because that area is extreme left. In 2001, he helped the party run candidates for every single seat on the Greensboro City Council. The GOP won 2 races and lost another race by only 1 single solitary vote. Wow. Kinley also explained that the party chairman should get in the newspaper at least every 2 weeks, just like former Congressman Howard Coble did. Marcus also knows many people in the local media and is good friends with the management of Fox 8 and WXII NBC 12. At that point in his speech, Mr. Kinley started to say that the municipal elections of 2019 need to be the testing grounds for 2020. And now we have arrived at a very contentious moment in this meeting. Okay, so Marcus is talking, and George McClellan, the executive director of the party, and he's always kind of been the master of ceremonies during these meetings, he comes up to Marcus and kind of taps on his shoulder and says very softly, "Time's up." And Marcus says, "Oh, you gave the other candidates lots more time." And so he starts speaking again. And please note that at this meeting, the candidates were given as much time as they wanted, pretty much. There was no time limit on how they spoke. So Marcus Kinley was doing a good job of establishing his right to free communication during this meeting. And George McClellan, in my opinion, perceived as very rude. Okay, so Marcus starts talking again, and then, George interrupts him again. So now, at this point, the audience is getting very, very agitated. A couple people say, "Let Marcus speak," and they start kind of booing. And one gentleman, Mark Robinson, who is he's a big fella. You can tell that he probably played a lot of football, defensive or offensive line back in his day. Mark Robinson is the big the gun rights advocate for the local GOP. And he's basically like, "Man, I've had about enough of you, George," and just, and just very agitated. It's hard for me to describe how this went down. You kind of had to be there, but just know that this was a very, very contentious meeting. So Marcus starts to say, "Look, I just need one more minute," and wraps up what he has to say, and is very respectful, and is a gentleman about it. Unlike George. So now we go into a portion of the meeting where the executive committee reviews the minutes of the meeting. Now, usually this is a very, very quick. Do you approve of the minutes? Everybody say aye, and everybody says aye. And this is, it takes like 5 or 10 seconds to do. But tonight we actually have a couple points of contention. Clark Porter, he rises and says that the minutes from the January meeting did not mention that he, in fact, called for the immediate resignation of George McClellan. And also was noted that the guest speaker for that January meeting was not in the minutes. And finally, the audience made a motion to forward the minutes to the next meeting. I'm not sure if that will be at the precinct meeting or the county convention, or will be in the meeting in April. But the next quote-unquote executive committee meeting, these minutes will be reviewed again. So I don't know, maybe we'll have more points of contention, but what usually is a very common and open and shut part of parliamentary procedure, while in this February evening it was not. Okay, so now we have the treasurer report. Steve, I don't know his last name, but he says he's running for treasurer again. So this will be a separate part of the officer elections on the March 9th convention. If you think that Steve has not done a good job as treasurer, then feel free to run against him, I should say. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Well, the only other thing I have is announcements from the club. It should be noted that the February 4th meeting was the very, I should say, well, there's one more meeting. It'll be on February 23rd. That's the precinct meetings. That's a Saturday at 9 a.m. at the headquarters at 5002 Gatesy Boulevard. Okay, and that'll be the last meeting in this location. The county convention is on March 9th, Saturday, 9 a.m., GTCC, Jamestown. Room 109 of the Sears Applied Tech Building, room 120, excuse me. We got the information on the website. But the very next Monday night executive committee meeting of the Guilford GOP will be on April 8th. Start promptly at 7, maybe 6:55. So try and get there about 6:30, 6:45. But it'll be at a new location. It'll be at the Hilton Garden Inn on Big Tree Way near Wendover Avenue and I-40. So remember that. Okay, well, that's all I have to say. For American Justice, I'm Bill Curtis.